that's great. Like I can help you two ways. We can either come up with a smaller deliverable, and that fits that budget, or I can send you to somebody that I think might do something decent for you at that budget. I can still help you. I can't do it.
Yep.
Thank you for being a pal.
Hey pals, and welcome back to another episode of Pen Tool Pals, week 17.
Week 17.
I'm Cole from Cole F Design.
I'm Canvas Cam from Canvas Design Company. Welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks so much for joining us. This week we have an awesome guest, someone who has been rising in his Instagram following at an insane rate.
Totally.
Sorry, this is recording after the weekend of the 4th, and me and Cam have had quite a weekend. So
yeah, we're definitely up earlier than we want to be. We had to kind of party because we just had Draplin on, and that was great. Thank you guys for watching that episode. As of now, I think it's our most viewed episode. Oh, nice. Thank you guys for watching that. Your excitement made us even more excited. Draplin was fun, and we have Jamie on today. It's gonna be a very informative podcast, guys. Like, this guy knows how to navigate the world of freelance, and unlike anybody like I've seen. You guys are going to take away so much with this podcast today.
Yeah, I mean, Jamie has helped me in my day-to-day, and he's just really figured out the perfect way to tell you advice about freelance work. So really excited to pick Jamie's brain about his experience in the industry and all his tips and tricks that he has to offer.
So without further ado, let's get Jamie in the chat.
All right. Well, Jamie, thanks so much for joining us today.
Of course, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's good to have you.
How's everything going on your end?
Good. It's been a busy 18 months, really. This has been, I know a lot of businesses were hit pretty hard by COVID. So I count it as a total blessing that it's been, one of our busiest years of all time. But yeah, it's been interesting. We'll call it that.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, we've talked about it on the podcast a few times, how I swear the freelance realm has now doubled in size.
The whole industry's in a renaissance right now. It's crazy.
And, because I remember even at the beginning, like, I was kind of panicked, but then after like a month, realizing that, like, I think I'm fine. And it still struggled, but I was starting to get more work as time went on, because now people are starting businesses because they have a bunch of downtime, and everybody needs a logo designer.
Exactly. I had the same exact. I remember, like, when we officially went into lockdown mode. It was like a movie, in LA. I went for this long walk, and I had in my head like visions of like, oh, this is going to be like, 1929, Great Depression shit. Like, I got to figure this out. Like, how are we going to make it to the other end of this? And, and on that walk, I kind of strategized several like key pivots that we could probably make in our business to accommodate people that their industry now has to go online somehow. And that was what I landed on was, starting now. And I don't think this is ever going to change. Starting now, no matter what industry you're in the content business. All these companies that suddenly, had to figure out the internet and figure out digital content. We and us creative freelancers were just standing by for them. And I think I don't think that's going to change now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, content has always been needed, and I swear that all these platforms had switched even more so to the digital side if they weren't even in it to begin with, because that's the only thing that they were able to broadcast during COVID. You're from your house, you need to be able to see it on some sort of digital level, and that's a good leeway into what you do on a daily basis. So you're actually a filmmaker at heart, is that correct?
Yeah. So I have kind of two lives, sort of. So I'm out here in LA. I'm a filmmaker.
Superman or Batman at night.
Exactly. Yeah. Way less cool than either of those, but same basic concept. But yeah, I'm a director, producer in the film industry. But then I also run this kind of small creative studio with my wife, and that's been just growing and growing. And it's, you know, it dominates a lot of our time because in kind of the independent film circuit, you know, it takes 3-4 years to get a movie off the ground, and you know, or we'll shoot a bunch of TV specials or something, and then you know you wait around another 2-3 years to get it all figured out for the next round. So there's a lot of hurry up and wait in that industry, and then so to fill the time between that, we've been doing this, the kind of creative studio stuff, but that's become huge and more so my focus.
Yeah. Dude, your Instagram, Cole was like, hey, you should check out this guy named Jamie. He has like really good content. And I think you had like maybe 7,000 followers. And then like we just checked the other day, and it's
you had 700. You literally had like 700 followers.
Oh yeah.
Like you're my most referred Instagram account I think I've ever. Like I show your account to like literally everyone that comes by and asks for his. I go like, you need to see this guy Jamie's page.
Yeah,
I mean, that's awesome.
What captivated me about it, because usually like when people go, oh, you should check out this guy's page and all that stuff, it's, you know, I'm like, okay, when Cole tells me, I'm like, all right, maybe I'll actually check out this page and stuff.
Yeah.
And what got me about your content, one, to our viewers, Jamie's not a graphic designer, but he has the most relatable content for freelance graphic design, and that's what pulled me in. And then it was like seeing your numbers just keep going up and up and up, and seeing like the shares and all that stuff. It's been crazy, man. Like you've got something.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting it, you know. I'm just happy that, and to your point, you know, I'm not a graphic designer, but like I'm just happy that so many different levels of freelancers are getting use out of this stuff. And you realize that we're kind of all just like, we have more in common than we have different.
Sure. We're just selling different products.
The DMs, like the conversations I'm having, like I'm talking to people that are like landscapers, you know. So it's like it's this huge, you know, I'm talking to drone photographers, web developers, UI UX people, video production people, animators, landscapers, accountants, you know, like you name it, they're real estate agents. So there's a lot of crossover. And I'm just excited that, you know, my 15 years of pain and suffering can help,
dude,
can help save some people some heartache.
Dude, I feel that. That's kind of why Cole and I do this podcast.
Yeah.
to talk to other like designers, other creatives and stuff, so that like they can listen and have a platform to learn from our 10 plus years of experience. But yeah, dude, we feel that.
Yeah, no. It's true.
I remember reaching out to you, and I honestly believe it was about, you had 700 followers, and that was like last month. And
yeah, we went from 1,000 to 20,000 in a month, and it was less than a month.
That's insane.
Yeah,
and I think that also speaks, like, your filmmaking skills comes into play with your reels, with how seamless your transitions are from one to another.
It's beautiful.
I mean, I think you've really cracked the code on when it comes down to like the perfect amount of content when it comes to the Instagram like algorithm or whatever it is.
Yeah, I try to think of, and this is a storyteller, and I'm sure you guys do this with graphic design too, is you think of you know, the end user first. And so whenever I make something, I think of myself sitting on the couch scrolling through Instagram, you know, and it's like, I'm not interested in watching a guy talk to me for 30 seconds. Like, so most of my stuff is longer than I want it to be, you know, on Instagram. I want to try and keep that thing to 12 to 15 seconds, but I can never hit that. I'm too verbose, but
what do you think is like the number one question you get asked as a freelancer to you, or vice versa? Where
can I get more clients? That's just so like, and that's, I mean, I've read some, I try not to like, I don't like go research things. It's all from just my, you know, but it does pop up in my feed every now and then. I read an article that was talking about, I forget who did the study, but it's like one of the big freelance sites or something, did a study on the 5 most common pain points for freelancers, and where can I get more clients was like by 40%, the biggest, you know, and then everything else is just like, you know, kind of minor. So that's kind of what I've tried to gear a lot of my stuff to.
Definitely. And you do such a good job of doing that front photo, the front outward facing photo on Instagram to like say like exactly what that reel or section is about.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting to look and see the amount of views per subject title, right? And see what people are like really interested in.
Yeah.
You know what? I'd love to pull one up so that like if you're watching this, you can just like see one of or multiple, if you don't mind, Jamie, if we start sharing some of your post.
Yeah, great.
Have at it. Yeah.
Freelancers essentially find clients by doing these 3 things. Today we're talking about hunting. To start building cold leads, figure out where your customers are online and go deep, not wide. Don't just post. Find groups that make sense and then become a regular presence. Show off your service in the context of how it's useful to that industry. And then keep an eye out for the people you genuinely think you can help. Then take it to the DMs. Tell them how you think you could be useful to their business and that you'd love to hop on the phone and toss around a few ideas. No pressure, no salesy BS.
I actually want to we'll share one of the more viral ones too.
Yeah.
With the scope changes.
They want to try something new on the next pass. What do I say? I can't say no. Just type this. Absolutely. Just to give you a heads up, this falls a little outside the scope of what we budgeted for. Happy to fold these in. We'll just switch to hourly billing for any additional edits. Why? People get a lot more decisive when it's saving them money.
I want to share more, but I want to talk about these subjects too as we go along. And I think scope changes was like one that I literally used this reel like last week.
Yeah.
Like it's funny, like, you know, we're all experienced here and have been through the industry for so long, but there's always a different way to look at it. There's always someone else's thing that you may not have thought of prior, and it kind of is like a light bulb in your head. And you can pull these bits and pieces from other freelancers or graphic designers or anyone in the space and just add them to your arsenal.
I like it.
Yeah, I know. I've it's funny because like you could be doing something for so long and still not have all the right answers. And what's been cool about watching your reels is that it's like something as simple as like, you know, needing more clients. Well, have you reached out to the old ones? I didn't think about that.
I was either.
Like, it was just like I usually just wait for them to come back to me.
Yeah.
And so I didn't think like, okay, when I don't have a big workflow, why don't you just reach out to your old clients and see if they need any help? Not all of them will, but it's crazy. And so when I watched that, I was just like, what? Why didn't I think about that? And I think that's why your Instagram account is so focused. And I think it's a very good example because I've had the same Instagram for 10 plus years and I'm just a little over like 4,000. And I don't necessarily care. I don't want a huge following, and that's not what I'm seeking. But I think that your account is a good example of what targeted marketing is, because you're going after a target market, which is freelancers, and you're giving them advice that's so good that people will click the follow button. We have a lot of viewers on our podcast that don't necessarily follow the pages, but you know, you have that one thing that's going like, oh, I can't miss this. Like, click.
Every single Pen Tool Pals person, follower pal, will need to follow your account.
It's awesome. That's high praise. I appreciate it, guys.
The other week I had a client. He asked for something that wasn't initially discussed in the scope of work that I had proposed, and I used this advice, and he was just like he was like almost upset that I had like told him that there's going to be like additional charges, right? And I'm used to this sort of pushback. It's, you know, it's not uncommon. But what would you say to like someone who almost now feels like you like betrayed them like throughout the scope of work, you know?
I think that the more you do it, I think that it comes mostly down to communication at the start of the project. and really like reiterating and like honing in on that scope of work. We have a scope of work document that we put into the agreement, and it says in that document, if we do anything outside of these 3 bullet points, we got to talk about price. It's like literally, so expectations are set. They know it's coming if that happens. But the visual I use, and this is one of the fun things about doing something like Instagram, is you start coming up with this, you have to defend your beliefs. And so the visual that I've come up with is, first off, it's perfectly normal. In fact, you can almost count on it that the scope is going to change mid-project. Once the hood's up, they're going to think, oh, while we're here, while we're working on the engine, let's do this, and that, right? So that's not a bad thing. But the visual that I think of is you're out at dinner and you've ordered your meal, you're halfway through your meal, and you decide you want a side of Brussels sprouts too. You bring that in. Great. That's fine. You're going to pay for them when the bill comes at the end. Like, it's not like and the fact that somebody gets mad, like nobody would get mad about that at the restaurant, I think that's kind of the mindset you have to have is they're ordering something new, which is totally natural. It's totally normal. But it's also totally natural and normal for you to charge them for that. Yeah. Totally. And now if sometimes you're trying to build a relationship with the client, you want to seem like a team player, and you're playing the long game. And maybe you want to do them a solid to get some goodwill, but you still got to point out that this is a scope change, because otherwise they don't know that you're doing them a solid. So that's another option too. Regardless of if you're charging for it or not, point it out. Let them know it's happening. And that also helps you down the line in the project. If it goes unchecked for too long, it's just going to keep happening. So you got to get out in front of it. Make light of it. Don't be a dick about it. Like it's just, but it's just call it out when you see it. Hey, absolutely. Like that's what I would lead with. Yeah, definitely. Like disarm them. We'll do that. We're happy to do that. I think it's a great idea too. It's just a little bit outside of what we discussed initially. So let me hit you with a quote for that, and let's get moving.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to do because no one wants to go like, hey, we're going to charge you more, because not from a standpoint of like, I don't like to do that, because of course, like I want to make more money and I want to be paid for my time, but it's more or less like, ooh, that's awkward because I know you're not going to like it. I know you're not going to like this upcharge. And I've had to deal with it, in the years to where it's like, I'm kind of, more accustomed to saying like, hey, there's going to be a price difference because you're having me do more. And it's easier. But man, I remember the first time I started upcharging, it was so hard because one, I don't work with the same kind of people anymore, but they didn't understand it. Like, why are you charging me more? Like, it's a logo, you just change the logo. To them, it's been like, oh, this is super easy. You're coloring. And like, that's what people view graphic designers as. It's like, oh, you're just like you're an adult that draws. But to us, it's like, dude, the slightest change could take us several hours. And then that's what the people don't realize. And so I found that, actually explaining, going, hey, this is going to take me a long time. And would the thing that you're selling, would you want someone to come in and go, I'm not going to pay for this full price because there's this little thing is off about your product that I don't like. And when I explain it that way, that's when people have been like, oh yeah, totally. Upcharge me.
Yeah, totally. First off, I think adult that draws should be on your resume. That should be
going up there now.
Yeah, that's your
actually make
an
good
adult
merch
that
apparel.
draws. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a lot of it is that you're just not on the same page. They speak a different language than we do, and so that's, I think, a lot of successful client freelancer communication is about speaking their language, like bringing it to, because like it's odds are that you're going to get a lot better at speaking client than they're going to get at speaking freelancer. So I try to tie everything to strategy. I try to tie things to ROI, stuff like that. And like you said, if they're asking for an explanation, first off, it's always interesting to me when, they take that line of reasoning where it's just this, isn't it just this? Because your knee jerk is you want to be like, well, then you do it. Then why am I
exactly.
here? But you have to quell that urge, right? And just, sometimes I'll use words like in my experience or in the past, just to kind of say, this has worked better than this. And just to remind them that, hey, I'm here for a reason. You hired me for a reason.
Yep. Totally.
But yeah, like tying it to value, things like that, that's important. So
I wanted to share this other one, that someone can do it for less.
We talked to another freelancer and he said he could do it for cheaper than you. Well, is the priority of the project to spend the least amount of money? Because if that's the case, you probably should go with the other option. No, it's to get the most leads. Okay, well, that's a metric I can speak to, and I'm happy to talk about how I think I can get us there. Well, okay, but
Someone can do it for less line is something that I think every graphic designer or freelancer in general has heard.
Yeah.
And it's a great response to it, but I think that it went kind of viral on the page just because it's something that we almost like laugh at this point, right? It's like, if you have someone else that does it for cheaper, you can go to that person. Hopefully you're hiring me for a reason, and that reason is to give you the best product or make you the most money because of our professional experience.
Yeah, I think you can tie pretty much any freelancer conversation to any other industry. It's like the same, like it's like you walk into Louis Vuitton to get a bag, and it's like, imagine to be like, well, I can get a cheaper bag at Macy's. The Louis Vuitton guy goes, okay, that's great.
Exactly.
Like, but if you want a Louis Vuitton bag, that person's going to figure out a way to make it work, because if that bag is more valuable to them, then they're going to figure out a way to swing it. And that's the same conversation you're having here. Is it's like, I'm sure you can get it for cheaper. There's, but there are things here. There's inherent value with working with us. So that's why I always try to, going back to speaking client, I try to get the conversation back on track and back to strategy. When we go off the rails a little bit and start penny pinching or talking about, weird creative stuff, like I try to get it back onto strategy and just align with, well, is your strategy, is the goal of this project to spend the least amount of money? Is budget your priority? Which is a totally normal thing. If budget is your priority, that's great. Like I can help you two ways. We can either come up with a smaller deliverable, and that fits that budget, or I can send you to somebody that I think, might do something decent for you at that budget. I can still help you. I can't do it.
Yeah.
That's actually helped me a lot too with how you've repeatedly said to back into a smaller deliverable. Right.
Yeah.
And that way you're not saying that, no, I can't do it for that price. It's just, here's what I can offer for that smaller price.
Yeah.
And that's helped me a ton in my work. And I would do it, but now I do it more. It's really is where I offer tiered pricing. Nice. And you always say too, is where at the bottom of your tier should be where your high ceiling is, right? The bottom of it should be actually where your top is. And then that top is hopefully something that they could go reach for. And if you get that price, you're excited about it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I come up with a floor, not a ceiling, right? So you figure out, and then I won't go under that price. That's just like, that's when you give somebody a bracket and they say, oh, well, this typically cost between $8,000 to $12,000. How does that sound about right to you? And they say, what if we did, like, could we do it for like 65, 7? It's like, no, like like that's the lowest, like that's the bare minimum version of it, and we can find a maybe we make it a 30-second instead of a 60-second. Like we can find some things we can tweak to get you to that 6,500 number. But in terms of bracketing, always like if you have a number in mind, make that your floor. And you'll be shocked at how often you get a way higher number than what you would have quoted them if you give them a range. So
that's been my biggest like tool to succeed, has been bracketing like that. Because especially for, designers and stuff like that, you got a lot of people who are penny pinching and doing all that stuff. And so it's like they go, how much can you do this for? And if you just give them an outright number, like right off the bat, they're more prone to try to go, okay, well, I can only do this.
Yeah.
But if you tell them like, this is what the window looks like, that's when they can, hit. If they hit in the middle, that's great. If they hit the ceiling, that's even better. But at least like I got the minimum.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I know that there's also a post that gained a lot of traction that was talking to your client over the phone about pricing when they first contact you.
Yeah.
Is that right?
When they want to have the money talk first. Is that the?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's common, right? Does that happen a lot with you guys?
Oh yeah. They want to go right to the point before they even say what they need most of the time.
It was like professional versus new freelancer, and it was like, well, did you talk to them about the price over the phone or something? Does that sound right?
That's a different one. Yeah, that's shoot, what was that one? It was about basically giving them a quote on the phone, right? I think they're starting to run together, so I apologize.
No worries.
But that's key, is giving them that bracket on that first call. Because we've all run into this maybe hundreds of times, depending on how long you've been doing it, where you have a pretty informed, robust conversation. Everything sounds great. And you say, okay, I'll shoot you a quote via email. You send them the quote, and then you don't hear from them for 3 weeks. And like, the problem with that is, if you haven't talked that initial kind of wide bracket on the phone call, then you don't see, when you talk about price on the phone, you can immediately address any concerns. You can figure out exactly where their head's at on budget.
Yeah.
It's a conversation about, hey, how much money do we have to deploy? It's a strategic conversation. It's not, it's not like window shopping, but when you don't do that on the phone and you get ghosted like that, then you don't know, are you being ghosted because you're too expensive? Were you way lower than what everybody else is charging, so they don't think that they're getting a good product? Are you is it that they're just busy, that they've got to get disapproved by 19 people before they hit you back with a yes? It could be all these things.
A lot of people don't think about that last one. They're all just consumed with what's wrong with me.
Yeah. And more often than not, it's something like that, something bureaucratic, where it's, it's like, oh, we had to get the boss's boss to sign off on this budget. And, but if you haven't had the money conversation, you don't know, you don't know how to react. Right. So if you have had the money conversation and that you guys are aligned on budget, then, they don't get back to you for 2 weeks. Odds are it's a scheduling issue. It's an assets issue. It's something like that. So you can follow up with a pointed email, just checking in. We're trying to block off our schedule for the next 2 weeks. Do you think we'll be ready to go at some point in that time? You're not trying to take kind of pot shots at like what the issue might be. And also, if it's too high, let's talk about this. And also, and so it helps you kind of navigate that period of silence that sometimes occurs after quoting.
Yeah.
I'm curious. So now that you gained all this, tremendous following, and now it's only going to continue. Is your shift going to be towards some sort of like business for teaching people how to market themselves as a freelancer, or is this something that you're just doing kind of as a fun way to give back? I
don't think I'm going to get into the coaching business necessarily, and of course, play this back if I do, and feel free. But it's just not. It's not my business model. We're scaling our agency. We're slammed with our kind of production studio, the film stuff, and I think for me, this has been. It never hurts to have an audience. It never hurts to build. My dog's freaking out over something. It never hurts to.
My dog is asleep on the couch for once.
See, he's on high alert because it was 4th of July last night, which is to a dog, it's indistinguishable from the apocalypse,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes.
he thought it was all over last night. So he's still coming down off that high of being alive this morning.
Yeah.
No, so I was talking about, so I think it never hurts to build an audience. I am really enjoying it feels very purposeful helping people like this. It feels like I have all this, and you guys as well. We've talked about this at the beginning. It's like all this like kind of stored up knowledge that we take for granted. And that's what's been interesting is some of the most basic stuff that I feel like I'm kind of phoning in, like, what am I going to shoot today? I'll make something about, what was the one that really surprised me? Like rush fees. Like I'll make something about a rush fee. I shot it in like 3 minutes, and people were like, "What the hell's a rush fee?" I got all of these messages like, "You just changed the whole thing for me," and so that's extremely gratifying. That's addictive. Like that, So I'm enjoying that a lot. But in terms of, I'll probably come up with like an ebook or something, because I'm just like getting so many messages of people with like very specific, what do I do in this scenario? What do I do? And you want to help. My nature is, to help them all. And so far I think I've been pretty good at answering everything, but I'm seeing the day coming where I'm not going to be able to, so I think having something to point them to be like, check out chapter 6 on this thing, like,
that'd be perfect.
that might help with that a little bit.
Yeah. That's so funny to hear from you. Like, people are, what's a rush fee? It's so crazy, and I love your reaction to it too. It's fantastic.
Well, it's so funny to. Well, it's not funny. It's just it's great to see which ones are getting the most action, and it's usually the ones that are the most straightforward, but that we haven't really been able to like think through ourselves, or been able to vocalize to ourselves, because we haven't had someone to have that like another freelancer to have that conversation with, where they give that tip, and then that's where we just get those bits and pieces, and I'll say it right, to put in our arsenal.
Boom! Bring back artillery.
No, it's great. It really has helped me tremendously.
That's good.
I get to send it to everyone that comes my way and asks for a couple questions, and I answer the best of my ability, and I say, hey, if you want, which I know is going to happen to you in the future, if you want to know more about things that I also have learned, like go to Jamie. He'll answer them all for you.
Yeah,
appreciate that. And no, I think that's been. I mean, I have a couple, like a small circle of fellow practitioners that we will just once every couple months jump on the phone and just bitch to each other, and that's like, it's so valuable. Like
it is,
because like you hear about things, in their industries, like that's I think we've hit on this already. No matter how experienced you are, you're gonna keep running into stuff that you're just like, oh, that's a new one, and so it helps to just have a circle of people that are doing the same thing you're doing to kind of get a heads up on stuff like that. And
that's really how me and Cam got started. Was we had a mutual nightmare client. We both worked for the same person, and he had reached.
Was it together or on two separate occasions?
Two separate occasions.
Oh wow!
That's really kind of how it was. Cole and I worked for the same person, and it was kind of a nightmare. And so him and I just started talking, and it became something so fun, because it's like we've talked about this multiple times on the podcast, but like, graphic design can be a very lonely thing. And so it was cool kind of getting to extend the fishing line over to Cole, and start to rant about the same things, and realizing like, oh shit, you go through this too. And that the whole concept of Pen Tool Pals kind of spawned from that, because literally I was just about to say like, hey, we should start a podcast, and he was like, yo, dude, we should like kind of start a podcast. I was like, dude, we're already on the same wavelength here.
Are we doing it right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
We actually, and we sent back like the Step Brothers thing back and forth.
Did we just become best friends?
Yeah.
Exactly. And then this week we just had some fan art, which we should probably put up right now.
I'm going to right now.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
That was literally a portrait of me and Cam out of the Step Brothers.
Oh, that's funny.
So that's pretty cool to see.
It's super cool.
To see fan art happen.
It blows my mind because it's happened twice now, and it's like, what's his name? Alex Birch 87. But yeah, dude, like it blows my mind seeing people do artwork for the podcast, and it just excites me so much when they put our faces on it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really fun.
I bet that's a blast. Yeah.
It is. It's just like, I don't know. We never really did this podcast to kind of gloat about ourselves. It was kind of just our podcast doesn't serve us. Our podcast serves the people who are watching so that they can, learn from our experiences and our guests' experiences and take something with them.
Yeah.
And so the reward for us, at least for me anyway, is getting to see people design stuff for the podcast so we can showcase on our Instagram.
So cool.
Seeing people, design our faces is like, it's an experience I can't even explain. Like you took the time to take circle. My face. Yeah, dude, it's crazy. But
now what you want now, you're really tapping into something when the fan art gets steamier and steamier. So that's what my directive for who painted that fan art, who designed it.
Alex Birch 87.
Alex Birch 87. I want these two on the cover of a romance novel.
Yes.
By
what was the quote we said earlier about adult drawer?
Adult drawer.
An adult who draws. That's the title of the movie.
Adult who draws. That's it.
Adult who draws. That'll be the name of the rom-com.
Yeah.
And two pals. Adults who draw.
Well, Jamie, I know that you have a tight window here. I don't want to take up more time, but before you go, is there something you want to leave on and talk about?
Let's think. So let's just talk for a second about like the freelancing mindset, because that's something I've recently been having some discussions about. And it's just that when you're just starting, because a lot of people are just starting out freelancing because of COVID, what we mentioned at the beginning of this. And I feel like it's one of those things where the power that you have over your own destiny is a wonderful feeling, freelancing, but it can also be terrifying. And I think that headed into this journey, recognizing that there are going to be some very high highs and some very low lows, and don't get discouraged at the low lows part. I think that's crucial. Talk to clients with a surplus mindset. Think in terms of actually go Google how many hundreds of millions of companies there are in the world, right? That need your service. And don't lose sleep over the one or two people that are saying no. Don't lose sleep over the 25 people that have turned you down this month. It's just like there are people out there that are going to pay for your service. Just you need to hone in on your target. You need to craft your messaging to be results oriented. Sell the result, not the service. And just don't get discouraged. Be smart. If it seems like you're screwing up a lot, if it seems like a lot of these no's are because you dropped the ball somewhere, identify where that is and fix it. But I just think that maintain kind of an inner strength and don't let some of this stuff phase you, because the first 2 or 3 years are a rocky road when you're getting started. So keep that in mind. You're playing the long game.
Yep.
That's amazing.
That's great advice, man.
Figure we end on something a little more abstract. But it's useful
for sure. Jamie, thank you so much for coming up. Oh,
Yeah.
skipped over.
No, I really had fun, guys. Let's do it again soon. I feel like there's
Yeah.
a lot of topics we can cover and
Oh,
have
for
some really
sure.
good discussion around.
Well,
Let's
thanks
put it
so
in the
much for
books.
joining us, Jamie. And if any of you watching don't follow him already, you can find Jamie at the Jamie Brindle. And is there any other platforms that they can find you on as well, Jamie?
Not at the moment, but soon. I think soon we're going to be branching out to some YouTube and some LinkedIn and,
Very cool.
and whatnot. Yeah. So,
Well, I think that about wraps it
All
up.
right.
all right, guys.
But
I
thanks
had
so
a
much,
blast.
Jamie. It's really, really awesome talking with you.
Yeah,
man.
for sure, man.
Likewise. Let's just keep it going.
Yeah,
Let's
we'll
do it.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
keep the conversation
I
going.
think that there's going to be a merch line coming out with adulthood draws. I know.
Yes.
Please do.
Absolute.
Please do it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. That's,
Adult who draws.
sums up the graphic designer experience in
Yeah.
one sentence.
Yeah.
Yep. See you guys.
Thank you for being a pal, Jamie.
Thanks,
Of
Jamie.
course.
Thank you for being a pal.
Hey pals, and thanks for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe and share our video. We'll be putting new episodes up every Friday. And if this is your first time joining us today, we got plenty more to show. So go back and see the whole catalog we have before you. And thanks for being a pal.